When the French explorers stumbled upon the temple in the 19th century, they found it cloaked in vines and mystery, guarded by the jungle as if nature itself had chosen to protect it. Entire villages nearby had been reclaimed by trees, yet Angkor Wat remained untouched, its towers piercing the canopy like sentinels from another age. The explorers recorded local legends that spoke of gods descending to instruct men in building the temple, of celestial beings who oversaw its completion and then departed, leaving only the stone behind. The people who lived in the region spoke of curses, of sacred guardians that punished those who tried to disturb the site. It was as if the spirit of the builders still lingered, unseen but vigilant, ensuring that their work would remain forever shrouded in reverence and fear. Modern excavations have uncovered human remains buried deep beneath the temple's floors, bones sealed within hidden chambers that were never meant to be opened. Some scientists believe these were ceremonial burials, offerings to bless the foundation. Others suspect something darker, that the workers were entombed alive as part of a ritual of sacrifice to consecrate the structure. Ancient traditions across Asia describe similar rites, humans buried within walls or beneath thresholds to guard buildings against evil spirits. Whether myth or fact, the discovery reinforces the idea that Angkor Wat was not merely a temple. It was a living entity, a spiritual machine that demanded devotion, even in death. More unsettling still are the inscriptions that remain. On a few surviving stelae, phrases appear that speak of beings of light and celestial architects. Some scholars dismiss these as poetic metaphors. Others see them as possible remnants of oral legends older than the Khmer language itself. If they were literal, then the builders may have believed they were guided by divine hands, or something they perceived as divine. It's an idea echoed in other ancient cultures, where pyramids, ziggurats, and stone circles are attributed to gods or sky beings. Across continents, humanity's greatest monuments share this curious theme, that knowledge was given, not discovered. As centuries passed, the Khmer Empire began to crumble. Climate change, war, and shifting trade routes weakened its foundations. The jungle advanced, the canals silted, and the city of Angkor faded from maps. Yet the temple endured, preserved not by human care but by design. The way it was built, its drainage systems, its alignment, its materials, allowed it to resist decay far longer than the palaces and houses that surrounded it. Some scholars have suggested that the builders anticipated the empire's fall and crafted the temple as a message to future civilizations. Perhaps they knew their time was ending, and Angkor Wat was their monument to immortality. A statement that even if the people vanished, their wisdom would remain. When restoration teams began to study the carvings, they found that the deeper they looked, the stranger it became. Certain blocks bore markings inconsistent with Khmer stone-cutting methods. The weathering pattern suggested some stones had been reused from older structures, perhaps even from an earlier site predating the empire. If true, it would mean Angkor Wat was a reconstruction, a continuation of an ancient legacy carried forward by builders who no longer understood the full meaning of what they were replicating. It would also explain why no records exist. They were not creating something new, but rebuilding something sacred, guided by oral tradition and fragments of memory passed through generations. The mystery deepens when one considers the abruptness with which the site was abandoned. Evidence suggests that the city surrounding Angkor Wat was thriving until one day it wasn't. There was no gradual decline, no layers of ruin typical of a slow collapse. The population seems to have vanished suddenly, leaving homes, tools, and unfinished works behind. Some archaeologists attribute it to drought, others to invasion, but none can explain why the temple itself remained untouched. It is as if the people departed intentionally, leaving the temple as an offering or a warning. Local monks claim that a great calamity was foreseen, that the builders left before it came, promising to return when the world was ready to understand their message. Centuries later, their promise feels strangely alive. The precision of Angkor Wat, the absence of its architects, the silence of its stones, all combine to form a riddle that time itself has failed to solve. Perhaps the builders were not meant to be remembered individually, because their purpose was collective. They did not carve their names because they saw themselves as instruments of something eternal. Their disappearance then was not erasure but transcendence. In a sense, they succeeded, for while empires crumble and names fade, their creation remains, intact, timeless. Defying decay and disbelief alike, Angkor Wat stands today as the final testament of its makers, a riddle carved in sandstone that refuses to yield its secret. The vanished builders may never be found, their tools may never be unearthed, and their methods may never be explained. Yet their silence is eloquent. It tells us that the greatest achievements of humanity often emerge not from the desire for fame or power, but from devotion to a vision that transcends both. The temple endures because it was built not for men, but for eternity. And in that endurance lies its ultimate mystery, that those who vanished from history still speak through every stone, reminding us that creation itself can be an act of faith, and that sometimes the builders who disappear are the ones who truly endure. When the first light of dawn touches Angkor Wat, the temple does not simply catch the sun, it captures it, frames it, and bends it into meaning. As the sky blushes gold, the sun rises precisely above the central tower, its rays flowing down corridors and doorways as if guided by invisible lines. This alignment is no accident. It occurs only during the spring and autumn equinoxes, when day and night balance perfectly, a fleeting moment of cosmic harmony. For modern visitors, it is a breathtaking spectacle. For the ancients, it was a message written in light. The architects of Angkor Wat built not just for the earth, but for the heavens, turning stone into a living calendar that tracked the movements of celestial bodies across time. Archaeologists and astronomers have long marveled at the precision of these alignments. The temple's layout corresponds to exact solar and lunar cycles. The width of the main causeway represents the number of days in the solar year. The number of towers reflects lunar months. The entire complex operates as a cosmic clock, its architecture encoding astronomical knowledge so advanced that even today, scholars must use software to confirm what the ancients already knew by observation. The sun, the moon, and the stars were not distant objects to them. They were part of a vast rhythm that governed both heaven and humanity. To build Angkor Wat was to synchronize the kingdom with the cosmos itself. The orientation of the temple toward the west remains one of its most striking mysteries. Most Hindu temples face east, welcoming the rising sun as a symbol of life and creation. Angkor Wat, however, faces west, the direction of the setting sun, the realm of endings and death. Some historians argue that this orientation reflects its role as a funerary temple for King Surya Varman II, the monarch who commissioned it. Yet others believe it carries a far deeper symbolism. In Hindu cosmology, west represents the passage to the afterlife, where the soul journeys beyond the cycle of rebirth. By aligning the temple to the west, the builders may have intended it as a gateway between worlds, a portal through which the king's spirit could ascend to the divine. At sunset, when the sun sinks directly behind the towers, it appears as if the heavens are opening to receive him. But the alignment extends beyond the sun. Studies reveal that the axes of the temple complex match the positions of key constellations visible during the 12th century. The central sanctuary corresponds with Draco, the celestial serpent, while outer structures align with Orion, the constellation of kings and warriors. This pattern mirrors other ancient sites around the world, from the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Teotihuacan, suggesting that Angkor Wat's builders participated in a global dialogue of stone, a shared understanding that the heavens were not just above, but within. The repetition of these patterns across continents implies a lost tradition of sacred astronomy, one that united architecture, mathematics, and spirituality into a single cosmic science. The connection between Angkor Wat and the stars becomes clearer when one considers its role as a mandala, a symbolic diagram of the universe. Each courtyard and corridor represents a different realm, from the human world to the divine. The central tower rises as Mount Meru, the cosmic axis around which the sun, moon, and planets revolve. To walk from the temple's entrance to its center is to undertake a spiritual journey through the layers of existence, moving from the temporal to the eternal. In this sense, the temple functions not just as a map of the sky, but as a guide for the soul. Every step mirrors the movement of the planets. Every turn echoes the path of the stars. When viewed from above, Angkor Wat's geometric perfection becomes even more astonishing. The ratios between its towers correspond to harmonic proportions found in music, light, and planetary motion. Ancient scholars in India and Greece believed that the cosmos vibrated with a hidden frequency, the music of the spheres. Angkor Wat seems to embody that concept in stone, transforming mathematical harmony into physical form. The distances between its structures reflect ratios of celestial cycles, the orbit of Venus, the rotation of the Earth, the rhythm of eclipses. These patterns are so precise that modern astronomers use them to calculate the temple's age, confirming that its builders understood complex celestial mechanics centuries before such knowledge appeared elsewhere. What drove such obsession with the heavens? For the Khmer, the sky was both a clock and a scripture. The movement of the stars determined the seasons, the floods of the Mekong, and the success of crops. To align their greatest temple with celestial order was to align their society with divine balance. But there is also an element of reverence, even fear, in their design. Ancient myths warned that when the stars fell out of alignment, chaos would follow, the end of cycles, the fall of kingdoms. Perhaps Angkor Wat was built as a safeguard, a stabilizing force meant to preserve cosmic order on Earth. Its builders may have believed that as long as the temple stood aligned with the heavens, harmony between gods and humans would endure. Recent studies using satellite imagery and LiDAR technology have revealed that Angkor, what is not an isolated structure but the centerpiece of a vast cosmological landscape, surrounding reservoirs, canals, and subsidiary temples align with the sun's path throughout the year, forming a massive terrestrial mandala stretching across miles of terrain. The entire region functions as a single astronomical complex, a celestial map laid out upon the Earth. This revelation changes everything. Angkor Wat was not merely a temple, it was the nucleus of an engineered cosmos, a world built to mirror the heavens in every direction. The builders were not just artisans or priests, but astronomer-engineers, blending faith and physics into a single act of creation. And yet this knowledge seemed to vanish as mysteriously as the empire itself. When the Khmer civilization fell, the understanding of its celestial alignments faded with it. Later generations revered Angkor Wat as a sacred site, but no longer comprehended its astronomical precision. The temple became a symbol of divine power rather than scientific mastery, a relic of faith rather than a record of cosmic knowledge. It is only through modern technology that we have begun to rediscover what the ancients once knew by heart, that the temple's every angle, every shadow, every reflection in its still waters was designed to measure the rhythm of the universe. This rediscovery carries a quiet irony. In our pursuit of progress, we often imagine the ancients as less advanced, bound by superstition and myth. Yet the more we uncover about Angkor Wat, the clearer it becomes that they possessed a wisdom we have lost, the ability to merge science with spirit, precision with purpose. To them, the study of the stars was not a cold calculation, but a sacred duty. They saw themselves as participants in a cosmic order, caretakers of balance rather than conquerors of nature. Angkor Wat stands as their testament, a reminder that knowledge, when rooted in reverence, can achieve the impossible. As the sun sets over the towers, the temple glows in shades of amber and shadow. The same alignment that greeted dawn now receives dusk, completing the eternal cycle. The light fades, but the geometry remains, unwavering, patient. The stars emerge, ancient witnesses to a human dream carved in stone. And though the empire that built it has long vanished, Angkor Wat continues its silent vigil, tracking the same constellations that once guided its makers. In its symmetry lies a truth both simple and profound, that long before telescopes and satellites, humanity understood that to look upward was to remember where we belong. For centuries, Angkor Wat was seen as a monument to the heavens, but recent discoveries have revealed that some of its greatest mysteries lie not above, but below. Beneath the polished sandstone courtyards and the carved pillars that shimmer in the morning light, there exists another world, one carved from shadow and silence. It began with faint readings from ground-penetrating radar, a scientific curiosity that would soon unravel the last and most haunting enigma of the ancient Khmer. What those signals revealed shocked even the most seasoned archaeologists. A network of buried structures stretching beneath the temple, unseen and untouched for nearly 1,000 years. Chambers, tunnels, and voids, arranged with the same precision as the monument above. It was as if Angkor Wat had an inverted twin, a hidden reflection buried in the earth. The revelation invited endless speculation. Were these chambers storage vaults, tombs, or something far more profound? Historians had long believed that Angkor Wat served as a funerary temple, built to guide the soul of King Suryavarman II to the divine. But no sarcophagus or royal relic had ever been found within its sanctuaries. Could it be that the true resting place of the king lay beneath, concealed from mortal eyes? The idea gained weight as researchers studied the temple's design more closely. Its corridors rise gradually toward the central tower, as if mimicking an ascent to the heavens. If that was the soul's path upward, then perhaps a descent was also planned, a hidden route downward into the realm of the ancestors. The Khmer believed that the universe existed in layers, each one a mirror of the other. Heaven above, the human world in the middle, and the underworld below. To complete the balance, Angkor Wat would have needed a counterpart beneath the surface. The radar scans exposed more than voids. They revealed anomalies, disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field that scientists could not easily explain. Some dismissed them as geological quirks, but others suggested they might indicate chambers lined with metals or materials designed to shield or preserve something of great value. The layout of these underground features echoed the geometry of the temple itself, forming what appeared to be a continuation of the mandala design. It was as though the builders had constructed two worlds, one for the living, open to the light, and another for the dead, sealed within the dark. The symmetry was unmistakable, deliberate, and deeply unsettling. If the upper temple was a bridge to the heavens, the lower might have been a gate to something older, deeper, and more mysterious. Local legends lend an eerie resonance to these findings. For generations, monks have spoken of the heart of the temple, a chamber so sacred that even they dared not seek it. It was said to contain a relic left by the gods themselves, a source of power so great that only those who were pure of heart could approach without being consumed. Those who ventured too close, the stories warn, were never seen again. To outsiders, such tales sound like superstition. But to those who have walked the temple at night, who have felt the air shift beneath their feet and the faint vibration of something unseen, the legends feel less like fantasy and more like memory. The Khmer had an advanced understanding of resonance and vibration, evident in the temple's harmonic frequencies. At certain points within Angkor Wat, a soft hum can be heard when one stands perfectly still, a sound produced by the precise dimensions of the chambers. It is said that beneath the temple, this hum becomes a deep and continuous drone, as if the earth itself were singing. Some scientists attribute it to underground water flow or wind movement through cracks in the rock. Yet others note that the frequency corresponds almost exactly to the same 432 Hz found in the temple's upper sanctum, a frequency long associated with cosmic balance and spiritual awakening. It raises the question, could these vibrations have been intentionally engineered, perhaps to create a resonance between the upper and lower structures? If so, then Angkor Wat was not just a temple, it was a living mechanism designed to connect heaven, earth, and the underworld through sound. The deeper the research goes, the more the mystery expands. Fragments of pottery and stone tools found near the temple's foundations date back earlier than the 12th century, suggesting that the site may have been sacred long before the Khmer Empire rose. Some believe the builders chose this location because it rested atop an ancient power center, a place where natural magnetic fields converged. If true, it would explain the recurring magnetic anomalies detected beneath the temple. To the ancients, such places were gateways, points where the physical and spiritual worlds overlapped. Perhaps the heart of the temple was not a tomb or a treasure, but a threshold, a conduit to what the builders considered the dwelling place of their gods. Every new discovery seems to deepen the enigma rather than resolve it. Recent scans show narrow tunnels leading away from the main chamber, extending outward like veins toward the surrounding moats. Some scholars suggest these were drainage systems, but their orientation and gradient defy practical explanation. They do not follow the natural flow of water. Instead, they align with celestial coordinates. To build such passages purely for hydraulics would have been inefficient. But if they were intended to channel energy, symbolic or otherwise, the design makes perfect sense. It would mean that the temple was not merely a monument of stone, but a vast ritual instrument, designed to harmonize with the earth's forces and the movements of the heavens, a structure of both spiritual and scientific genius. What lies sealed within those hidden chambers remains a mystery. Excavations are forbidden out of respect for the temple's sacred status, and perhaps that is for the best. Many believe that disturbing the foundations could unbalance the delicate harmony of the site. The Khmer legends insist that the temple protects itself, that those who try to pry into its heart invite misfortune. Some modern workers claim to have seen lights flickering under the floor or heard faint chanting echoing through sealed corridors. Science offers rational explanations for such phenomena, reflections, acoustics, imagination, but still the accounts persist, as if the temple guards its secret by reminding intruders of their insignificance. Beneath Angkor Wat, time behaves differently. The air grows colder, the silence heavier, as if sound itself refuses to linger. For those few who have descended into limited access areas, there is a sense that the temple is alive, aware. It is said that when a torch burns underground, its flame flickers not with the wind, but with something else, something unseen yet present. The ancients may have believed this presence was the soul of the temple, the divine essence that animates its stones. Whether supernatural or natural, that feeling lingers even today, a pulse beneath the earth, steady and eternal. Perhaps the truth about what lies below will never be known. Perhaps that is how the builders intended it. For them, mystery was not an obstacle to knowledge, it was its highest form. The unseen was sacred precisely because it could not be grasped, because it demanded reverence rather than conquest. The chambers beneath Angkor Wat might hold nothing more than empty air, or they might hold the culmination of everything the temple represents. The idea that the divine is both above and within, both revealed and hidden. In that sense, the underground world of Angkor is not just a physical space, but a metaphor for human understanding. We can map the surface, measure the stones, trace the alignments, but the deeper truths remain buried, waiting for a time when humanity learns to look inward as carefully as it looks up. Even as technology advances, there is an unspoken agreement among those who study Angkor Wat that some mysteries must remain untouched. The temple's greatest secret may not be what lies beneath it, but the fact that it still keeps a secret at all. In an age when every corner of the world can be scanned, measured, and photographed, Angkor Wat reminds us that wonder is a form of knowledge too. Its builders are gone, their methods forgotten, their purpose obscured, yet their creation endures, breathing through stone and shadow, bridging the visible and the unseen. Beneath the temple, beneath the weight of time and silence, something continues to hum. A pulse, a presence, a promise. And perhaps that is the secret the builders wanted to protect. That beneath all the layers of earth and myth, beneath the rise and fall of empires, something eternal still beats, waiting for those who dare to listen. As the camera of time turns away from the temple and the jungle swallows the sound of our footsteps, one truth lingers. Angkor Wat was never merely built to endure the past. It was built to question the future. Its stones speak in the language of stars, its silence hums with ancient codes, and beneath its calm reflection lies a pulse that refuses to fade. Every answer it offers opens the door to 10 more questions. Every discovery deepens the shadows around its origin. Perhaps that was the intention. To create a monument so perfect, so infinite in meaning, that humanity could never exhaust its mystery. For even as science digs, as light scans and scholars translate, Angkor Wat continues to whisper to the night sky, guarding secrets that have survived kings, empires, and centuries of oblivion. But maybe, just beyond the horizon of this mystery, another waits, another monument, another riddle carved in stone, older still, hidden where no satellite has yet looked. Because if Angkor Wat has taught us anything, it is this: the past is not behind us. It is buried, waiting, calling us to uncover what sleeps beneath the next forgotten world.